Alright guys, moving right along through the Patreon requests. I'm trying to knock out as many as I can that have been on the waiting list. And here's another one. And this one comes from Cyborg 19.99, who asked me to do a hero-villain mashup, which I do exclusively on Patreon now. But for the Patreon requests, I do bring them over here because they're, well, Patreon requests. And as always, if you'd like to have a Patreon request done, just hit the link below, head on over to my Patreon. And you guys, if you guys hit the 4th tier, you guys can send me requests for videos to do here on YouTube. So other than that, let's get on with the video. So for those who are new here and don't know what hero-villain mashup is, hero-villain mashup is basically where I take a hero team, or just a hero in general, and basically talk about what if this villain was part of their rogues gallery. Not so much a fight, but more like what if it was like this villain was in this hero's rogues gallery. And Cyborg asked me to do a video of a good old Marvel DC one of the X-Men, and what would it be like if Ra's al Ghul was one of their enemies. So let's get into it. So let's talk about that. Immortal villains are nothing new to X-Men. They've had Exodus, obviously Apocalypse. They've had a multitude of immortal villains. So Ra's al Ghul is nothing different. The difference is that he's not a mutant. He's given his power from the Lazarus Pit. And I do see that if it was just generally Wolverine on his own, yeah, Ra's al Ghul would definitely be a Wolverine villain. But since it's the entirety of the X-Men, I do see that he's kind of like a mixture of two X-Men villains to begin with. He is very much Apocalypse and Magneto put together, in that he's trying to create a better world where the strong survive and the planet itself is safe. So he's very much like the X-Men's two biggest opponents put together, except he's not a mutant, and also has the backing of a massive League of Assassins. So obviously, in a head-on fight with the X-Men, Ra's would not like. I think Raish would know. Yeah, I think Raish would know that taking on the X-Men head-on would be suicide. Like fighting them all would be nothing short of just cataclysm. He can't fight one guy with no superpowers. How do you think he's going to deal with a bunch of people with powers? Some of them Omega level. So, but then again, he did take down the Justice League. Granted, he did steal the stuff from the guy who beats him with no powers. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. So I think how Raish would, I've been calling him Ra's, I meant to say Raish. How I think Raish would go about taking on the X-Men, and he would be a great opponent for them, because he depends more on his intellect than his own physical prowess. This is a guy who depends more on his own level of savagery. He depends on a level of intellect that a lot of people would stand up to, that couldn't stand up to. I think Raish's mind is so complex and so ancient that literally, I think some of the telepaths would have trouble getting into his head. And I think Raish would definitely use like old techniques that have long been forgotten to mentally block out someone like Jean Grey or Xavier from getting into his head. Obviously, I can't really back that up, but I do like there has been like some comics in the Batman comics where it did talk about Raish and use some meditation abilities that did block out John Jones, the Martian Manhunter. So it'd probably stand to reason that he could probably do the same thing. Maybe not to the level that he did with Jean, but maybe hold off and like give Jean Grey a mental workout in her own capacity. So that's how I kind of see it. And of course, he's got a fucking ninja clan behind him. He's got Talia with him. He's got his other daughter, well, Nissa's against him, let me rephrase that. But yeah, he's got Talia with him. He's got a massive amount of, also, ninjas who are created from the Man-Bat serum. He's got that too. This is a guy who will also, I think this is a guy who could easily, like, send a ninja squad into Krakoa just on the grounds of, I showed you I can do it. That's what makes him really scary, is that Raish, the second you underestimate him in any capacity, this is a guy who will make you regret it in all forms. This is a guy who will totally make you regret, in all shape and form that this was the wrong move and you miscalculated on a whole other level. So, you know, be prepared for that. So the level of just brutality that Raish can give, and I think on a level, I think like he would mainly target Wolverine, because I could definitely see if Raish was in the DC, I mean in the Marvel universe, let's be real, he would be a Wolverine villain. But I would love to see like him trying to have a philosophy of, you know, the mutants, you guys are, I'm not here to destroy mutant kind, you guys were created from Earth, and you guys are, you know, have just as much rights as you do, but I'm just trying to take out enough of mankind so the planet Earth can survive. And something of, you know, something along that nature, but obviously the X-Men would not allow that. So yeah, I do think that he would be one of the most cunning X-Men villains, but as a whole, I think he would probably work better as a Wolverine villain, because like I said, he has trouble enough with one guy, and that dude don't have any powers. How do you think he's gonna... How well do you think Raish would hold up, even with the backing of the League of Assassins behind him, against a whole troop of guys who are almost Omega-level beings? But anyway, so there you go, guys. That is pretty much my hero-villain mashup for X-Men and Ra's al Ghul. You guys tell me in the comments below, yeah, what did you guys think of this video? Just comment below, let me know. Once again, I'd like to thank Cyborg 19.99 for their continued patronage and for this video. Other than that, hope you all enjoyed this. I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the Multiverse.